Hello crafters. Today I'm going to show you how to make a Dorset button. Now the Dorset buttons which you'll see here are really little creations. They're not traditional Dorset buttons. They're made in basically the same way as a Dorset button. And the history of the Dorset buttons is that they were made not just in Dorset, but they were made, all over the country. It was a cottage industry, and they were made from the 1600s, 1700s into the 1800s when a button machine was invented. And of course, originally they were buttons. If you want to see a traditional one, I'll just put that one down there. That's a traditional Dorset button. I don't know how well you can see that with the traditional weave, and that would have been a button on someone's clothing. That would have been, you can see the little bits at the back there to make into the button to tie on to the clothing. But I don't do them like that. I do them as little sort of scenes or posies or whatever the season is. If it's Christmas, it might be a little Christmas tree. It might be difficult to see the details on these, but I'll upload some of the images. This one I absolutely love. This one is vintage. This one a friend's great aunt had. And so this one is probably made on a Bakelite ring with a beautiful back there. They're made now into brooches, although you could put them on bags, you don't have to wear them. And you can make them, you can scale them down like these, or you can scale them up. These are slightly bigger ones, and these are tree scenes here. You can put them onto a bangle if you've got a spare ring. You don't have to stick with a circle. You can use anything that has an aperture, particularly if it's metal, but it could be plastic. Or these are from old handbags, old belts. You can use an old belt buckle. So anything that is a ring that has an aperture that you can wrap and you can weave into. You can use, like I said, bits from old handbags, belts. You can scale it up if you've got enough thread, and you could use wool on something like this, or a brass ring. You can find them in charity shops. Lots of old curtain rings are really useful. And then you can, it crosses over into weaving rather a lot, and I'll be doing some weaving workshops soon. You can have it on a willow ring, you could have it on a paper plate, and it's the same sort of principle. You start off by going round your ring. Now I've got brass rings. I have got some kits available for some of you if you'd like to have a go. And you need some thread. You don't have to have this, but it's easier if you've got this thread, which is called perle or pearl. The difference between this and embroidery thread is embroidery thread splits, goes into strands, and this doesn't split or go into strands. It is one continuous wrap really, but you can get away, because I think at the moment when we're all trying to use up the things that we've got in our stores, use embroidery thread, and you can actually change the technique when you're threading it up to use that up. You need a very long piece of thread to start off with your ring, and usually it's got to be, I say about 3 times the length of my arm. And so when I thread up my needle, it has to be a needle that has an eye big enough to take this thread, and then I don't put a knot, you leave a little tail. I'm right-handed, so I put the little tail against the ring, and then you simply buttonhole or blanket stitch all the way around. Keep your tail. Leave about a centimetre tail to begin with. Keep going round and round, round and round. And as you go round, you need to push your stitches close together. The idea is you're covering up every single bit of the ring as you go. And it would take me quite a time to do the whole of this ring, as you can see. So I've got one here, True Blue Peter style, that I started before. And I've gone all the way round. I've pushed up the stitches so I'm not seeing any of the ring. And now I'm coming to the last bit. There's my tail that I started with, hanging down there. Don't know how well you can see this, but I will upload some photographs, and if anybody's got any other questions or details, then please let me know. And as I get to the end, get closer to that little tail, I want to trap it. It will make a tiny ridge, but not much of a ridge. So I'm doing my last few stitches, trapping in my little tail, and then I'll be able to do the next step. And what I'll do is push that along, and can you see I've trapped my tail there? So I haven't done any joins, I haven't put any knots at this stage. I'm not a purist, and I do put knots into some of mine, so I'm going to leave that one there. The next stage is to do your cross threads. Now, if you want to do a bouquet of flowers, you want some cross threads going up there, and then you want some coming across here. If you want to do a tree, something like the willow tree, like this one, that one, or an old oak tree, then you need to put some cross threads that come up and some that go out at an angle. That's going to be the roots of the tree down there. Now, if you've used perlé or pearl, which is on this ring here, when you push your needle through, you won't separate the strands. If you've got embroidery thread, the strands begin to separate. So what you need to do is then wrap around. I'm going to stop the video here because I can see it's a long one, and then I'll start